the Kim Kardashian and Kanye West divorce. Kimye, we've done our research. We're jumping in. Let's go. So keeping up with the Kardashians is done, right? So as of June 2021, the last season ending episode happened just recently. I haven't watched all 270 episodes. Watched some. I've watched some. Not embarrassed to say it. Absolutely. It's interesting stuff. But the series is over. It's done. Now looks like there's some other things on the horizon, just like in this divorce situation that we're talking about today. Looks like they're possibly looks like Hulu in 2021, but for right now, that chapter of their lives is over. Keeping up with the Kardashians part is done. And just like in this divorce, they're looking at a new chapter. So there's a lot to go into in this video. We're going to break it up into different chapters. So this is the first part, just, kind of going into a little bit about Kim and about this situation, about that there's this, seminal moment in her career, in her life, with the series ending. Because obviously 20 years of doing something, it's going to change anybody's life. So with this series ending and the Keeping Up with the Kardashians on its way out, and with something new on the horizon, again, it's interesting that it coincided with the divorce. So obviously we're talking about the divorce. That's what this video is about. The divorce of Kim Kardashian West and Kanye West. So they did file it. It was filed in Los Angeles County. And we'll go into a little bit more about the specifics of the case next. So I'm William Foley, and I'm a Florida divorce lawyer. And this is the Foley Divorce channel. And my team and I, we've been interested, obviously, as I'm sure a lot of you have as well, as the Kim Kardashian and Kanye West divorce. We looked it up as it's public record, and in Los Angeles County, you can search, through the public record, the filing, and it looks like they filed on February 19th of 2021. So Kimberly Kardashian West filed against Kanye West, and they're both represented, obviously, by counsel. They're going to have divorce lawyers through this. Currently, right now, I'm looking at the docket right now, and it's showing that Laura Wasser is the attorney for the petitioner, which is the person that filed it. So that's Kim. So Laura Wasser is her attorney, and stated as attorney of record is Christopher Charles Melcher, Melcher. So he's listed as the attorney for the respondent, which is Kanye West. So it's a dissolution of marriage proceeding with minor children, which basically means a divorce. And so it was filed. There was a response filed by Kanye West in April. But as far as of the shooting of this video, there's not a lot of docket activity. And again, not trying to be like super lawyerly or something like that, but it's a case docket. That's kind of the summary of what's going on in the case, the documents that have been filed, the events that have happened, what's coming up, but not a lot of docket activity. You'll see in some other divorces and divorces that we deal with in our Florida divorce cases, lots of different docket activity and people filing different things. And there's some other celebrity divorces, going on right now that have a lot of docket activity. And those will be in some other videos that we're going to be doing, but and videos that we've done in the past. But basically, there's not a lot in the court file, so there's not too much out there. It's not like a lot of, crazy motions going back and forth. It's not, oh, he said this and she said this. It's not like that. I mean, it could get like that, and we'll go into that a little bit later in this video, but this is a little bit of just kind of this part of the video is just a little bit of background that, yeah, there was a divorce proceeding filed. Looking at the docket summary right now from Los Angeles County Superior Court, and basically, they're in the middle of it right now. So everything that the Kardashians do and Kardashian West do is big news, right? I mean, right now in the news, there's Kim Kardashian's line, Skims line, and she wrapped her Lamborghini in the Skims like furry. It looks like from the movie Dumb and Dumber where they have like the furry van. It's kind of funny actually. You look at it and you're like, that's a lot of fur on a Lamborghini. And then I guess Paris Hilton commented on it, or something. And it's interesting. Good public relations, good marketing, obviously, for their company. But when you're wrapping your Lambo in some white furry substance, the entire thing, obviously you're good at trending. You're good at being in the public eye, and you're good at understanding the media. And I'm guessing they understood that their divorce would also be public interest, and people would be interested in what's going on. So this video is a little bit more information. Now, again, we had to go into the the Skims, S-K-I-M-S, Skims wrapped Lambo, because if you want to drive that around LA, that's cool, but yeah, there's gonna be some damage to that thing, like just the first time it rains, or anything happens. So it's public interest. It's an interesting situation, and we're gonna get into some of the parts of it, but just like what we talked about before, it's been filed, it is public record, and it is something that I think it's going to, until it's done, until they've finalized everything, it's going to continue to be some type of public interest, because their lives are spectacular. It's interesting. They're both of them. They're both very interesting people, and they lead very interesting, diverse lives. So we're going to go into a little bit about both of them in this video. And so I'm going to start out first with a little bit of California law. So again, I'm a Florida divorce lawyer, and this is a divorce channel, so just for entertainment purposes and a little bit of education, but not legal advice. So don't take anything in here as legal advice. Don't, I'm not your attorney, obviously. And I don't even practice in California, but California, there's 3 ways to end a marriage. There's divorce, legal separation, and annulment. It's also a no-fault state. Florida is a no-fault state, and we did a video about the Gates divorce, and that's another no-fault state. So basically, you don't have to prove fault. You don't have to prove the other side did something, or like there's adultery, or something bad happened or whatever during the divorce. That's not a necessity as far as California law. So it is a no fault state, and it is a state where you just got to file. Somebody's got to file, and it looks like Kim said, "I'm done." Kanye, let's be done with, and she filed. So she got an attorney. She got Laura Wasser to go file it and move forward through the process. I think everybody wanted to see them succeed and see it go. It was such an interesting, melding, and there was all these, the different Saturday Night Live skits and all this different stuff. But it was just an interesting, these two, mega superstars getting together and having their children and, being together. It seems like a lot of it, with at least what we're looking at, is there was a lot of distance. There's differences, but there's distance between the two of them. And right now, Kanye's in Wyoming, and I don't know where he's at right now while I'm shooting it. He could be, wherever he wants to be. But their main residences, Kim's was in Los Angeles and his was in Wyoming, and then they're always going around and going to different places. So I'm sure they were there together a lot of times over the years, but there still was some distance there, and there's been a lot of talk in the media, and there's all these different TMZ reports and things like that of all the stuff that happened over the last year. And you saw the kind of divergence of opinions between the two of them on a multitude of different issues. And that's not really for the topic of this issue, because clearly everything led up to that point where either one of them said or both of them said, hey, we're done. Let's maybe be cool about it, but let's have this over with because it's not working out for both of us. So that seems to be a little bit of information about where the divergence and where everything came from. But I think it was a culmination of a lot of different things. And even with a lot of my clients, like I don't know the exact specifics a lot of times of why and what happened. And a lot of times that's what people want to know. They want to know exactly what is it. And sometimes it's not one thing, but there's things that lead up to it. And just in any divorce, it's not usually always just one pivotal thing. Sometimes, you'll see that culminating event. Let's say it's an affair or something like that. But it's usually there's things that lead up to it. There's usually the things that were going on before that were present but weren't, out there. Along the lines of living in different states, in the season on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Kim had said in there basically that she's turning 40 this year. After she turned 40, she kind of thought to herself, I don't want a husband that lives in a completely different state. And again, maybe that's one of, like I talked about previously, that it could be just one part, in a culminating, series of events that led to saying, hey, I think we're good here. I think we're good. Let's find a way to resolve this, because part of some of the things when we go into the specifics of it, I mean, they're both going to be fine. It's not, this is not a divorce where one of them's going to be really struggling afterwards. It does look like from the numbers and from some of the sources that we're getting and seeing online and reading about and researching, that, Kanye's net worth is higher than Kim's based upon a lot of his, different business ventures, but they're both going to walk away with a significant amount. And that means that obviously it makes it a little bit easier for them, that if it's not working for them and they don't feel that, as she said during the Keeping Up with the Kardashians, that, I'm 40. Is this kind of how I want my life to be right now? Or do I want something else? I mean, that's her choice. You only live once, so you got to make the best of your situation in your life. And if it's not working out at that point, I guess that's from her perspective that, obviously that, they had amazing children that they have and they'll continue to raise together. And, this may just be the next chapter in her life. So we got this article from hypebeast.com, and it's about Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, about the Keeping Up with the Kardashians and some of the things that came out of it, and talking about the divorce. And some of the parts of it that state, again, that Kim's looking to appreciate a little bit more of the little things in life, because she has all the big things. That makes sense, appreciating the little things. And that if he moves from state to state and if he's on his Wyoming ranch, it does make us think a little bit of, I mean, wouldn't you get more of the little things and be able to enjoy life a little bit more at a slower pace, somewhere like a Wyoming ranch, rather than in the heart of Los Angeles and Beverly Hills and, kind of a media epicenter. I don't know. I mean, I just, that part of it kind of struck us a little bit, that that's where you would go to kind of reconnect and kind of find yourself again and, enjoy the sunset and, ride horses and whatever else. As you can see, I haven't been to Wyoming before, but I'm sure it's gorgeous. And I hear Jackson Hole is amazing this time of year right now. I don't know. It might be. I have no idea. But I just would think that going out there to Wyoming, or Idaho or something, might be more able to kind of appreciate the little things and to pull back and to pull things and just to recenter and rebalance. But, if that balance is not going to happen in Wyoming and it's going to happen in Los Angeles, then again, you do you. That's her life. Kim and Kanye share 4 minor children together, right? So there's Northwest, who as of right now is 7. When I'm saying these ages, I'm saying as of like right now. Saint West, who's 5, Chicago West, who's 3, and Psalm West, who's 2. So it appears that they're both looking for within their pleadings, and this is according to BBC.com, that they're seemingly agreed to joint custody of the 4 children. I haven't seen the actual pleadings, because that's another thing about the docket. A lot of times you don't get to see the actual pleadings themselves. In some of these higher level, high profile cases, some of the pleadings are out there, but even though it's public record, it's, you got to go through a whole process to get it. But, if this is from BBC, that, it seems like they've agreed that joint custody of the 4 children is appropriate. So sometimes people will deny it in their initial pleadings, and they'll say, no, I don't agree to joint custody for the other side, but then later agree on it. So, but we've seen with some other celebrity divorces that it can become extremely contentious and contested. The custody component, teams of lawyers just try to go through, and financial advisors and people try to help them divide the things that need to be divided. And I'm guessing, only speculating, that a lot of these things were set up in a way when they were married, whether they had a prenup or not. That's something I'll get to as well. But this is not her first marriage, so she knows that sometimes things don't work out. So a lot of times the way you'll do it is you'll make sure to title things separately just in your name. Like, maybe her car, if that's Kim's personal asset, then that's going to be in her name. And that just makes it easier that, and I seriously doubt they have loans on any of their vehicles, but, normal people usually have some type of debt associated with a lot of different assets. But if they don't have a loan, then it's just the titling of it. And then it's just easily, if you can just split it off. And if Kanye's like, no, this is my, Honda is over here and this is your Toyota, then it's easy to just split it up. So, but with the kids, the court's always going to look at the best interests of the children. They're going to look at what's best for them. And weekends in Wyoming and weekdays in Calabasas is the way to go. I don't know. It's going to be tough. And obviously they have opportunities that, a lot of people don't have, of private planes and, things like that, and ways that transportation that's not just jumping in a car and driving between Wyoming and Calabasas at, every other weekend to make sure that they're effectuating time sharing. So, a lot of times, at least from our perspective with the kids, a lot of times it would be that, maybe one parent would get the children during the school year, and then the other parent would get the children during the summer and during holidays, or splitting the holidays. And that just, obviously changes, and they live such a fast paced life. They live such a complicated, subject to change at any moment type of life because, of what they do. So, planning these things out. So if you come up with a custody agreement, right? Again, not going to be easy to do, because it's going to have to be very loose and up for changes, because if she needs to fly out for something or he needs to fly out for something, they need to have that built in. And I'm sure that I'm guessing. I mean, if I had the resources that they had, I would, make sure that, some nannies and some different help were involved in order to help them to be able to help raise their children. And there's nothing wrong with that to make sure that you are using what's available to you. And this is completely unrelated, but so many, high profile and athletes, celebrities, and they get arrested for DUI, right? And this has nothing to do with Kim Kardashian or Kanye West, but they get arrested for DUI. And it's always, to me, I'm like, I mean, I guess with Uber and Lyft now, you don't see it as much, but I mean, for so long, right? Don't you remember seeing that all the time coming up? It was just like this this celebrity got popped for DUI. It's like, why are you driving? Like, get a driver. Like, you make so much money. Why would you possibly even take the chance of getting a DUI? Of if you want to go out, have a fun time. If you gotta have some drinks, you're an adult. You're allowed to do it. Just don't do anything stupid and get behind the wheel of your Bentley and just be like, to the officer, like, I'm super rich. That's not an excuse. That's not something that the cops are going to be like, oh, yeah, you're super rich. Okay, well, have fun in jail. You're going to have a great time. So, again, you should avail yourselves of what you're able to do based upon your financial circumstances. So if your financial circumstances are that you can get a driver, you get a driver. Especially if you're going to be, for that. If you like to drive around, I mean, I'd love to drive around the Skims wrapped furry Lambo around, around the Palisades and go through Malibu. And that'd be great. I mean, again, if it rains or, a flock of birds, goes over it, that's going to be an issue. You need to make sure that you're being realistic about the situation. So if you have the money to get, a nanny or a team of nannies, then you do it. It's 4 kids, 4 children, and they had them pretty, close together. So basically you're looking at that from the perspective of, they decide to have these children together. They decided to raise them together. Now they have to figure out a way to raise them while they're apart. And you can also, enjoy a lot of the same lifestyle, the trips, vacations, and things like that with the children. You just have to find a way to make it work between the two parents. And that's a lot of times where attorneys will get involved is, normally with our cases, we try not to micromanage that stuff too much because it just is not cost effective for clients. It's not cost effective to sit there and be like, okay, this weekend, like weekend by weekend or day by day, not a good use of the court's time, not a good use of their attorney's time. But again, if you're in a tax bracket that they are, and you have the money to do that, they may have, somebody or a team there to, kind of assist with, the parenting and also with some of these different types of scheduling things that come up. And then always, just as in any divorce, things come up, emergencies come up, situations change, circumstances change. One of them gets remarried. One of them wants to move. Kanye buys a building in New York and, who knows what's going to happen. And, circumstances change, things come up, and you have to be able to pivot and move with that and change and be, flexible. And most of the time, parents are able to become flexible and they are able to, do what's in, again, that the standard in so many jurisdictions. And in Florida, and, at least my belief is with I think that California has it as well, but, I can check that and put it in there if anybody's interested. But I believe it's a best interest of the child. I mean, that's a very normal burden and standard to determine the custody of the children. And we've seen it a lot with other celebrity divorces, and they'll just basically agree to joint custody. There's different terminology it's basically saying that we agreed that these are our children And we've agreed that we want them to be here in this world with us and as a part of our family. And we've made these decisions. And we want to raise them, in a certain way. And you're trying to figure out what's best for those children as they continue to grow. I mean, they're going to be, with Psalm West, their youngest, a 2-year-old, you got 16 years of parenting decisions and things that need to be figured out while they're kids. So according to Forbes, Kanye West has a net worth of roughly $1.3 billion, not million, billion. So the majority of his success comes from his shoe brand Yeezy, about $1.26 billion, which he owns 100% of. And again, this is according to Forbes. So do I know this personally? No. Kanye's never called me. Come on, Yee. What's up? Call me. I did go to his concert, and it was awesome. We'll throw a picture in there. We were under the stage, and it went over. It was like this moving contraption thing, and it was going across the park. We're under it, and people are running around. Just such a cool, artistic, interesting, creative way. So had a super fun time at the concert. Went with my wife. Super cool. Super. Anyways, but yeah, he didn't call me and tell me this. So this is just basically according to Forbes. So that's Kanye's net worth. Yeah, the 1.3 billion, that was just Kanye. That wasn't Kim. So Kim, net worth of roughly 780 million. So that's just according to these reports. She had a hit TV series for a long period of time with the Keeping Up Kardashians, modeling, endorsements. She's got her beauty company, KKW Beauty, which, estimates are somewhere around $500 million for the value of KKW Beauty. I think we can agree that there's a lot of value in a lot of these assets she has. So both of them have significant income producing, wealth building assets, and that's separate and apart. So together they have purchased and amassed some other assets as well. So the couple jointly owns the Calabasas mansion in Los Angeles County. They have a Miami condo. There's 2 ranches in Wyoming because one's not enough, right? You need that second one just in case. No, I'm just kidding. Who wouldn't want 2 ranches in Wyoming? That's awesome. $5 million in art, approximately roughly $4 million in vehicles, $3.2 million in jewelry, $300,000 in livestock. And this is all coming from a Forbes article, about their joint assets. And a lot of it also went into their separate assets of what they walked into the marriage. And this leads us to the issue of a prenup. According to the Forbes article, allegedly, the parties have a prenup. So again, I haven't seen the court documents, just what's on the docket, but haven't seen them and haven't obviously seen their prenup. But that would make a lot of sense to have a prenup. In our other video, boop, 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 boop. The Bill Gates divorce, there was no prenup. So that was a little bit different. But again, theirs was a much longer marriage. And it was a much different set of circumstances at the time when they did get married. Now, with Kanye and Kim Kardashian West, obviously, he's walking in with, his shoe line, which, comprises, a vast majority of his wealth. People want, his fashion advice, on what to wear. And if you remember that SNL skit, evidently Kim wanted that advice too for a long period of time. Maybe she doesn't want it anymore. I don't know. But for the most part, the prenup, okay? Allegedly there's a prenup, and that will help divide the assets fairly easily. It's still not going to be super simple. It's not going to be like, all right, let's just sit down and, coffee table, and we're just we write it on a napkin, and we just take the napkin and we put it in the court file. You don't just take a cocktail napkin of a list of everything and throw it in the court file. You still have to go through the whole process. There may be valuations on certain things because, again, the Calabasas mansion, if you've seen the Keeping Up with the Kardashians, series, the different things that they've done to it. And for the most part, both of them are going to be walking away with a substantial amount. I think for their priority will be making sure that they're, doing it in a sophisticated, professional way, on the finances, and making sure that their financial advisors and their lawyers and everything's cool, everything's good, and everybody feels comfortable with it. I think the focus for them probably will be their kids and just making sure that they're, again, thinking of the best interests of the children, and, you don't want to be continuing to fight. And we're going to do another video on another celebrity couple that's continuing to fight and continuing to, have some issues in their custody, years after, probably everybody thought that it was final. So, but for them, they're still at that early stage. They're, again, like I said, for Solemn West, that's 16 years. They're still going to have to kind of work with each other. And then anything that comes up on a daily moment's notice. And, that's one thing Kanye is awesome at. He's a master at is grabbing media and people's attention through the things he says, through the way he says them, the emphasis, right? So he is a master at that, and he's very good at it. But sometimes a lot of people look at it and be like, whoa, what is going on? Why is he doing that? But, they're again, don't personally know him, but I would think there's a reason for a lot of the things that he does or doesn't do and how he acts. There was just this deposition, another case, where the way he acted during the deposition. And it's interesting. We'll get to it a little bit later in this video, but, staying with the prenup side of things, that it can help keep the divorce away from the public eye as much as possible. Now, there's some celebrity divorces that are all up in the public eye, that are just, that's every single part of it is in there. And then there's some of them that you just don't hear anything about, like the Tiger Woods divorce, right? That one was just as clean as Okay, what happened before the divorce, obviously not clean, not, there was a lot of stuff surrounding that, but the actual divorce itself, it was like, boom, boom, done. And you're like, wait, what? Where did that come from? But the goal, if they're starting with a prenup, is to try to, set out what's going to be, their separate property and what's going to be marital property, and then how they're going to deal with the divorce in the event it does happen. Because it does, there's possibility it can happen. So, making sure that you're ready in the event that it does is, again, just, like an insurance policy on their part. They're just trying to make sure that if something does happen, that they're protected in the future for it. I briefly talked about that deposition that Kanye had. And again, this is not part of the divorce, but it was just recent. Like, we're making this video in June 2021, and this evidently just happened. And his behavior is interesting. And the deposition only lasted for about 10 minutes. And that's when the other attorney, there's a lawsuit, and it's called My Channel. Again, I'm not going to go into that case because this is more about Kim and Kanye's divorce rather than that case. But the questions are being asked, and it's part of the discovery process for the lawsuit that's going on in that case. Kanye West, definitely, he had like a full face hood and head covering, adorned with, this is by the Daily Mail, Jesus Christ image, obscured his face, muffled his voice, kind of verbally going back and forth with the attorney for the other side. And there was an emergency motion to bring him into court. It's just, again, have I been through some depositions where, the other side doesn't like me and, kind of acts in a similar way? I don't know about some of the things that happen in there, but yeah, I've definitely had some, very aggressive behavior towards me. So again, I look at it as just like, I don't know if it's a little bit more of like a media PR publicity thing. It could affect him in that case, and it is kind of a large lawsuit, I believe. I don't know much about that case. I'm just looking at this Daily Mail article, but it's interesting. And, I know that the attorneys released a statement about it, stating that his bad faith efforts to sabotage the deposition. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to say whether what he was doing was super inappropriate or not. I could always make a video about it and watch it and go through it if that was interesting. But for me, it just, why it interested me for this video was I would hope that that's not something he does during his divorce, because this deals with his children. This isn't just about money. The other case is more about money and about a deal, and that's different than your children. In the Keeping Up with the Kardashians reunion part 1 that just aired just recently, and they're about to do part 2 when we're taping this. I haven't done it yet, but in the first one, there was some pretty, I think, telling things that Kim said about the divorce. So she basically said that there's, she isn't going to talk about specifics of it, but there wasn't one specific thing. And I kind of said that earlier in the video, that's normal with most people's divorces, is a lot of times there's not just one specific thing that, kind of humanizes them, from that standpoint of they're human, and a lot of times it's not just one thing. It could be a culmination of things. And it's basically, what she was saying is a culmination of things, but she's forever going to be Kanye's biggest fan, which is great. And stating that they have an amazing co-parenting relationship. So for me, that was a big part, because a lot of these videos talked about what I consider to be potentially one of the most problematic things, maybe not for right now, but maybe for the future. Just Kanye West is an amazing artist. He's phenomenal. And, he does things that grips the public's eye and attention, but in the courts and with the laws the way they are and what they're looking at, some of his behavior sometimes can be concerning, and again, I'm not a judge, but if I'm a judge and I have the case and I'm like, wait, what? What did you just do? And if it's to sell shoes, that's one thing. If it's to promote a new album, that's another thing. But if it deals with child custody, and if it's what's in the children's best interest, that's what the judge is going to be looking at. So while some of these things, if they are PR stunts, whatevs, go for it. It's up to you of what you want to do, but the court's going to want to make sure that just in any case, they're going to want to make sure that party, that the mental health of them is intact. I guess that they know what's happening, because when the court starts to question somebody's mental health, that's where problems come up in the child custody context. But at least for right now, from their divorce right now, I'm just saying 16 years is a lot of time that there are things that can come up within that period until, the last of their children are adults. So there could be continuing issues, and maybe not. There's a lot of people that, sometimes just never have a problem. There's people with all different types of things in their background and kind of personality that, never have an issue custody-wise. And then other times it's an unending battle that just goes on for years and years and years and years until the child hits 18. So I do hope that they're able to figure that out and figure it out what's best for the kids, because That's what a judge has to do. If the judge gets it, it's just like any other case. You know, they're going to see the style of the case, Kim Kardashian West versus Kanye West. They're going to be like, all right, lots of media attention, they're Los Angeles Superior Court judges. I'm sure they're used to the media attention for cases. They're used to this type of stuff. You know, obviously their attorneys, you know, Laura Wasser, she's used to this. She's going to be fine. She knows, you know, what she needs to do to navigate it, her firm, to be able to make sure putting Kim's best interest forward as well as Kanye's attorney also. But for the judge, they're looking at it to a certain extent like any other case. And they just have to apply the law to the set of facts, just as any judge has to do. They have to take the facts that they're giving and apply the law to it. And that is the resulting outcome. So if it's a screaming deposition at the other attorney, calling him boy 10 times during the deposition, again, wasn't there. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's, I don't know if it was on Zoom and it's recorded. I don't know. But again, that wasn't during divorce. But if stuff like that happens during divorce or subsequent custody litigation, you know, that's when the judges start sitting there going, you know, what is in the best interest of these children? And another thing from that reunion special that just aired, Kim said that she values privacy. So, privacy. They are reality TV show superstars. I know they're ending this final season of the Keeping Up with the Kardashians. But again, at least it looks like from some of the tweets and some other things that they're moving to a next phase. Maybe they'll be able to have a little bit more control over it, of what they put out there, and so maybe that can feel like privacy to them. For me, often a ranch in Wyoming seems like it'll be a little bit more private sometimes than Los Angeles, but to each their own. She's allowed to make the decisions she wants to make. But the good part of that interview and that little, you know, snippet that, you know, I heard about, you know, she'll obviously continue to be his biggest fan, and that they have an amazing co-parenting relationship, at least bodes well for the children's future, bodes well for the, you know, the sanity of everybody involved in that situation. Because if they can continue to keep that up, and it won't be easy because there's things that are going to be happening and people are going to talk about it, and that's going to make its way possibly into litigation if that happens. And that's sometimes the issue in a lot of these very, very public, high profile divorce cases. But if it is able to be finalized in a way that's amicable and that there's some compromises, and they do keep the best interests of the children foremost and at the forefront, they could be all right from that perspective of not having to be locked up in litigation for years. So if you've gotten anything out of this video, please subscribe below. You can like the video, comment, any other ideas for any other celebrity videos. This is a divorce channel about divorce. And again, even celebrity in these high profile type cases just show and humanize even celebrities and superstars that they have a lot of the same issues and problems going on in their day-to-day life as a lot of people and, you know, normal people do. Same types of custody issues during the divorce, and they're dividing different assets, but they're still trying to go through a lot of the same types of things. And the goal of Kim and during the reunion special was she wants to be happy, and she's, you know, on that eternal search for happiness, as so many people are. So I think that the best point of that reunion special that just aired the other night, the part 1 reunion, was stating that they have an amazing co-parenting relationship. And I think that's so important for their case specifically. They can do this. They can make sure that they keep things. It's going to be in the public eye for a while because it's not finalized, at least from our standpoint. We haven't seen it, you know, filed or anything. We're looking at the doc and it's not showing that it's finalized. So until it's finalized, until it's done, you know, we're going to have to see what happens and how all of this plays out. But again, that's an ongoing question. And even after the divorce is finalized, it's like the next, you know, nearly 2 decades of what happens going forward and in their co-parenting relationship. But if it stays amazing, then they're headed in a good path. Thank you for watching.